Ready to head north with the Power Trip. Join the guys up at Grandview Lodge this Thursday and Friday. Be there on Thursday night for off-air fun and games for great prizes. Then stick around as we go live on the air Friday morning, including the initials game and your shot at a 2-night Grandview stay with food, golf, and a massage at their spa. Get all the details today at KFAN.com/Grandview.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I can't wait.
This week.
I cannot wait.
Thursday night, Friday morning.
It's
Grandview.
all happening, man. It's all happening.
It's all happening.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, he's at the New Hope Cinema Grill.
Oh, Sauce again?
5 shows this week.
Oh, Craig. Oh, okay.
Craig Gass.
Craig Gass, okay.
CinemaGrill.com for tickets. And you know Craig from not only the Howard Stern Show, but King of Queens, Family Guy, American Dad, Sex and the City, and so much more.
And this show. Like 7 times or something like that.
Many times.
Yeah, many times.
Dude, how the hell are you, man?
Dude, when I got in my car, I always like to listen so I can jump into the conversation
sorry about that.
wherever it's going.
You want to talk about Marney's Ducks?
Well, on the way in, I was listening going, wow, this is such a crazy conversation. And I thought, if I was to take this like as a radio consultant, a radio consultant is a guy who will come in and give you some weird mid-level executive job advice just to be able to justify their job. But they'll play you like a segment of your show and you'll overanalyze, well, why'd you pick that segment? You know? But if I'm to play somebody a break that I heard and ask, is this a country western morning show? Is this a sports station?
Right.
Or is this just a bunch of stoners doing a podcast?
Right. Yeah.
This is the audio you would hear.
Yeah.
Man, can you imagine if like a moose ate you? Yeah, that'd be so crazy. Dude, think about this. What if you could hear worms scream? Oh my God, can you imagine that, dude? Hearing a worm scream, I was like, what? Do I have a contact high? What am I listening to here? It was wildly entertaining on the way over here. But it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, man.
Do you believe that worm screams would be loud? Sauce is convinced they would be loud.
Yeah. I don't know how I jumped into the middle of it. That's the thing is I didn't know what the jumping point. I just heard that middle segment and went like, wait, why are we talking about worms screaming? I didn't understand what the reference was.
They might be drowning. They might be getting stepped on. Like they might be in complete agony at all times.
It just seems like they have terrible lives.
Yeah. It sucks to be a worm, man.
Right.
Agreed. Without question, I agree. I totally agree. I just was enjoying the intensity of the micro subject of the conversation.
We try to be as profound as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never thought about it, though. You're right. We do sound like stoners sometimes. I agree with you. And that definitely is a good example of that.
And speaking of stoners, Marney Gellner, Craig Gass,
Are you a
Marney
stoner?
Gellner.
Not right now.
Okay. All right.
No, she's a
And
legend.
also not in general.
Very professional.
Marty, I just went through something that, have you ever called up an ex, just to dunk on them, ever? Like, have you ever had an ex that you felt like the need to follow up?
Not lately. In college, sure.
Oh, sure.
I'm not even sure if this is appropriate conversation to have on the radio, but something happened just a couple weeks ago that was so mind-blowing that was attached to an argument that I got into 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I go to Anchorage, Alaska for the first time to do stand-up comedy. My ex is with me when I go to the club, and we meet a local comedian. His name is Matt Becker. It's Matt with one T, Becker. And we talked to him for 30 minutes. We come out. My ex looks at me and goes, I like him. I said, he's creepy. He's very creepy. And she said, what do you mean he's creepy? I said, and we got in an argument and we had gotten into this argument several times, that I think I have an intuition about people. And she said, you're always wrong. And I said, I do have an intuition about people. I'm just saying you can tell something about somebody by the words they use. And that guy is creepy. He's really, really dark. That was the argument 20 years ago. If you're able to right now, I'd like you to open up your Twitter on your phone and go to the Anchorage Police Department's Twitter page, where on March 14th, the Anchorage Police Department put out a flurry of tweets saying to be on the lookout for a man in Anchorage who is on a murder spree. He has a list of people that he wants to take out, and he's starting from the top of the list. And his name was Matt Becker with one T.
Matthew Thomas Becker.
Yes.
How about this headline, dude? Am I stepping on your touchdown
No,
call
go
if
ahead,
I read this headline? Here's the headline that you just referenced, March 19th of 2026. Comedy club owner with terminal cancer guns down ex-in-law, hunts ex-wife before turning up dead.
Yes. It's a terrible story.
Holy cow.
It's a terrible, terrible story. But here's how much I love being right. I cannot tell you the joy of being able to call an ex from 20 years ago and hear her pick up the phone with like a question mark in her voice of like, hello? And be able to go, aha! Guess who has intuition? And it was such a, like, I have to believe there were people in 1940s Germany who were like, I told you not to buy that guy's painting. He's weird. He's like, like there's just, I feel like there's a handful of people out there who have the intuition that I have about people. And for you, my hope is that someday a crazy murder spree happens for you too, and that you can be validated. So, but yeah, that was I'm realizing the story's not going over well,
man.
But
dude, I completely would have called her as well.
Right?
Number
Same.
one.
Yeah.
And B, I have the same feeling every time I'm in a room with Meat Sauce Paul Lambert.
It happens. Yeah, it happens.
I knew how somehow I was going to turn around to
You
get
got that
us.
look.
Yeah.
How was his material?
Yeah, was he funny?
Did he kill?
More importantly.
Are there any jokes that are left on the table that we could take now?
I don't know.
But he was BFFs with Doug Stanhope, who's also a pretty dark guy.
Oh, wow.
But and
not as dark, but dark.
Yeah, pretty dark. And his material was like, I just remember that he was this quirky guy who loved to do magic tricks for people, which maybe that's something that kind of triggers me as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like
Comedians and magicians.
Yeah, comedians, magicians. I don't know. But
There's like three of those, right? The Amazing Jonathan, obviously Penn and Teller are kind of comedians / magicians, right? It's pretty rare. Not very many, though.
Yeah, Penn and Teller are great. The last time I was in town, I asked Chris if he wanted to go see Metallica.
Yep.
Metallica was performing here. And he was like, yeah, I might. And I go, and I didn't want to say like, dude, go, because I'm going to hook it up. And then he said, all right, let's go. So we went to the Metallica show. And we had this great time. We went into the middle of the stage, the
Snake pit
of the show. And Chris, you told me a story that night that blew my mind. That years and years and years ago, you got to go backstage to a concert once. And is it okay to bring this up?
They all know it as the
Slaughter story?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
we all know the story.
Okay, so
it's legendary.
My memory of the story is that he got to go backstage to a Slaughter show. But the weird thing that resonated from that night that stayed in his memory was that the girl who got them the backstage passes had emerged from the backstage area with the all access passes, and she seemed to have white stuff on her.
Yeah, in there.
And it really creeped him out. But he went backstage.
Yeah, of course.
And I just did a show 3 weeks ago, opening for Slaughter.
You did not.
No way.
I did, and
Come on.
this is a message from Mark Slaughter here that he wants to clarify.
Oh my gosh!
For Chris,
Is this real?
this is totally real. This is.
This is 30,
Is this clean? This is clean?
This
it's
is
airable?
This is 35 years ago that this happened.
35 years ago. I don't know why this audio is not. All right.
The Wi-Fi in here sucks, if that matters.
It is not. Hold on.
Mark Slaughter.
Mark Slaughter.
One of the best ever. Up All Night, Sleep All Day, Flight of the Angels. I just love that band.
Okay. This is on my Instagram at Craig Gass Comedy with 2 S's.
Right.
And Mark, I told him the story. Mark laughed about it. And he sent me a message to send along to you where he explained that it actually was not, according to him, it was not the white stuff that you thought it was.
Oh, good. What was it?
I'm waiting for this thing to
I
pop
wish
up.
this would play.
Hold on. Here we go.
Chris, my buddy Craig Gass told me about the one time that you had to go backstage to a Slaughter show. And you were suspicious about the girl who got the backstage passes because she had white stuff on her. Well, I assure you that at every Slaughter show, there is tons of catering. So that was mayonnaise.
There you go. It was mayonnaise.
Okay.
It was mayonnaise.
Clarified, and I buy it 100%. Thank you, Craig Gass and Mark Slaughter.
Yeah.
I mean,
that video is at Craig Gass Comedy. Craig Gass with 2 S's
I can't
comedy.
believe you did. You remembered that. Thank you for that.
That was one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. It was like
never forget
the
it.
idea of having such a cool experience, but going, what did you do to get us into this show? Like that. Yeah. That's.
And the boyfriend didn't put the 2 and 2 together,
He
right?
didn't seem to care. He
the
jumped
boyfriend
up
was
and
like,
down.
great, you met Slaughter.
You met Slaughter.
By the way, Sauce, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because this is the case for me. Marney, maybe this is the case for you as well. I just learned about 60 seconds ago that there's a guy in Slaughter whose last name is Slaughter.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Slaughter.
that.
I just thought that was the name of the band. I didn't know it was
Right.
Mark Slaughter. I didn't know this was Van Halen or Bon Jovi.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I thought it was Slaughter.
Yeah, I thought it was just a clever name. I didn't know that was
is
his
he
last
the only
name.
one with the last name Slaughter?
That's right.
He is the only one
So
in
it's
the
him.
band with the last name Slaughter. So it is his band.
Wow.
Yes,
Did not know that.
He's great, man. I love that guy. That's cool.
How often do you guys have comedians in the studio? Is it?
Maybe 4 times a year.
Yeah, 4 or
most.
5 times a year.
Really?
Yeah, we don't do it very often yet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Who comes in and really like knocks it out of the park?
Marney
Chad
does
Daniels,
every day.
Chad Daniels, Kelsey Cook, Cy Amundsen. We used to have Mary Mack on all the time. Tommy Ryman.
Tommy Ryman.
Who else am
Yeah.
I forgetting?
That's about it, really.
Yeah, those are kind of like that's our stable.
We had, what's the dude's name who tells stories all the time? He's remember we had him in the one time. He writes books too.
Paul Mercurio?
No, yeah, we have had Paul on this
Paul
one.
Mercurio's funny.
Yeah, he's the best. Anyway, it doesn't
He
matter.
writes books.
Yeah, he's the
You ever have a comedian come in and just swing and miss?
sure.
About
But that,
10 minutes ago?
That's good. That was good, though. You just got slaughtered.
see, Marney's a stand-up comedian
That was
in her
awesome.
own right.
Well done, Marty.
Why do you bring it up?
Because I love having that conversation with radio friends to say, like, who's your favorite comedians you had on? Who's your which comedians have come on and just didn't connect with you? And you always hear the same names in both categories. And then everybody has a Tracy Morgan story about how weird Tracy Morgan tried to
my favorite.
like assault somebody in the hallway or something.
The only issue we ever had wasn't with a comedian. When Chip Zinoff tried to seduce Carly Zucker on air.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Get
Chip
out of
Zinoff
here.
had been
Do you know
nuts enough.
Chips Enough?
Oh, it was one of the best ever.
I know Chips enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chips.
Hawk loves enough.
I do. I love that band. So what? I love 80s stuff. It's the best. I love it.
Yeah, for some reason, musicians have been my biggest supporters, and I've opened for a lot of bands over the years, like Metallica and System of a Down, and then I got in trouble here last time I was in town when I did a show at First Avenue opening for Pantera.
Oh, yeah.
Because I did this whole when I open for a band, I'm too much of a puss to say, "Hey, I'm a stand-up comedian. Here's some jokes," because I just know, like when I opened for Metallica, it dawned on me when I got to the venue that everyone here's on coke. Like, what am I doing here? Like this is
It
like
was
a
mayonnaise.
it's a terrible idea to
sugar.
do stand-up comedy in front of a rock crowd. So I just walked on stage and said, "Hey, my name's Craig. I'm Metallica's tour manager." And everyone, yeah. And I said, the band has some very important announcements they asked me to read. And all of them were fake. It was all a bunch of cool stuff that's not going to happen. And it gets them to listen. And when I did it with Pantera, one of the announcements was, you may have heard some rumors, and it's true. We are recording our first ever live album right here. And the place was like, yeah. So I need your attention. There's a proper way to yell on a live album. And they followed every stupid instruction I gave them. But the problem with that was that people who were Pantera fans who read about it on metal websites got upset that Pantera, who was not the original band, there was 2 members who died, was going to do a live album. So all these people got pissed and they started posting like, screw that guy, all these like metal websites were posting these stories about a employee for Pantera who announced they were doing a live album. And because I was anonymous, I started commenting on all the threads going, yeah, screw that guy. He's a piece of crap. And what a wait. And I would like reference my jokes. Why did he even bring up the size of Zach Wilde's genitalia? What did that have to do with anything? And then Pantera put out a statement saying, no, we're not doing a live album. That was a joke from our buddy, Craig Gass. And they tagged me in everything. So this mob just came towards me and I was like, oh man, sorry guys. But
Like Swifties.
Yeah.
they're pretty intense. Has Chris done any justice in trying to get you to listen to his music?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They all have downplayed it and poo-pooed it quite a bit. Except for Marney once came to a show and left early. Sauce got on the tour bus and rode all the way to Milwaukee with me one time for one of my shows and then left.
This is a true story. So he went
to see Paul Simon instead.
Exactly. Yeah. So went all the way to Milwaukee to quote see Chris, and then left to go see Paul Simon. So essentially got a free ride to Milwaukee to see Paul Simon.
Really?
Turned Chris's tour bus into an Uber.
It was great. No, it was fine. I don't blame you. I'd go see Paul Simon as well, and I'm me. But before we go to break,
Paul Simon was at another venue. You got to ride up there to go to another show.
Yeah, he didn't know it at first.
I literally did not know Paul Simon was going to be there, and then somebody that was in Hawks Band was like, Paul Simon's there, and I'm like, well, I got to go to that.
Yeah, and he did.
And I bought a ticket at the box office, and it was like third row. It was sweet.
Yeah, I bet it was fun.
Yeah,
it was better. It was absolutely the right choice.
I was not
Craig, you remember the last time you were in town, right? You were like, Corey, come see my show. And I'm like, all right. So you drove me to the New Hope Cinema Grill. And what did I do? I went across town and saw Matt Becker do dark comedy.
At first down.
He was a killer.
Killed it.
Hey, before we get a break, because when we get back, we got to get into sports, and you can just hang out and comment as we go. But how did you get a chance to talk to Steve Gleason?
I knew Steve Gleason from my friend Mike, who plays guitar for Pearl Jam. Steve Gleason, did I tell that Pearl Jam story last time I was here? About
Yep.
Yeah. Mike's been a buddy of mine for over 20 years, and Steve Gleason is a huge Pearl Jam fan. So I met him at Mike's house a couple of times at like barbecues and hangouts, and then he just has turned out to be one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. For those of you who don't know, Steve Gleason used to play for the Saints. He has ALS. Did a documentary documenting his descent into his physical disability. It's really crazy and really tough to watch. Yeah. But now he's raised millions and millions of dollars for people to get the equipment like he has to be able to make their lives easier. And the guy is just he came to a show of mine like a couple years ago, and after the show, he said, through his little voice box thing, he said, "Craig, that was a great show." And I said, "Oh man, thank you. Dude, I'm so glad you made it out here. Can I give you a hug?" And he said, "I love hugs." And I went to hug him, and he said, "Not as much as I love BJ's." And I went, what the? I remember he introduced me to some friends. I was backstage at a Pearl Jam concert, and he said, "Hey, Craig, come here and talk to my friends." And I said, "Hey," and he goes, "Do some impressions for them." And I go, "Hey," and I start doing impressions for them, and he starts saying through his voice box, "Craig's whole family is deaf." That's probably how he got good at impressions. And I said, Dude, that is so smart. That is absolutely true. I've always been able to do any voice that I hear because growing up in a deaf family, I couldn't learn how to talk for my family. I learned how to talk by watching TV and copying all the voices I heard on TV. That's why I now do celebrity voices on Family Guy and American Dad. And Steve goes, "My kids will probably end up sounding like robots." And I was like, oh my God.
That's pretty good.
That was amazing.
And I'm watching, because I watched the interview you did with him on YouTube. And so his... he speaks by looking at letters? Is that right? Is that how it...
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like, there's nuances of being around deaf people that only people who grew up with deaf people can see and understand. Mm-hmm. Steve Gleason, people with ALS, use their eyes and look at a keyboard, and they move their eyes around to form words. His keyboard was down that day when I was at his house, and he had two assistants who one of them sat in front of him and said, "Look at me, just look at me, tell me what's going on." And she's watching his eyes, and she goes, "H, yep, E, yep, he, yep, he, W, wants."
How is that possible?
Wow. She's just watching the subtlety of the direction of his eyes and reading a keyboard off his eyeballs. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But Gleason has come out to many of my comedy shows, and he's a stellar human being. And side note, I always think this is an interesting asterisk to his story. The single largest donor to all of his ALS charities is an NFL owner. And it's not the owner of the Saints. It's the owner of the Atlanta Falcons.
Arthur Blank.
Arthur Blank. $65 million, it said on his website. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And Arthur Blank is far and away the largest donor to all of Steve Gleason's charities. He's a stellar human being.
Amazing.
That's good to hear.
All right. Greg Gass is here. New Hope Cinema Grill when?
Cinema Grill this weekend, Thursday through Saturday. I'm usually funny. cinemagrill.com.
I like that place a lot.
Sauce just did stand up there like, a week and a half ago.
Spot. Yeah.
How'd it go?
It went well, yeah.
How are you like hitting up open mics and stuff like that?
No. I just do comedy with our other coworker, Common Man Dan Cole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah, sometimes it's good.
Well, when it's not good, that's when you become a better comedian.
Yeah.
Then he's getting great.
Yeah, then I'm doing Carnegie Hall soon.
All right, so Marnes, I know you're a big 30 Rock fan, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You like Saturday Night Live?
Sure, of course.
You've never heard Craig Gass's Tracy Morgan. Wait until you hear it when we come back.
It's crazy.
It's infamous.
It's the best.
More
That's crazy.
Craig Gass after this Power Trio Morning Show on The Fan.
Welcome back, everybody. Power Trio Morning Show, here we are. Final segment of the show today. Marnie Gellner's over there. Look at her. Feeling good. Looking good. Marnie.
It's all right.
Hi.
Right.
When do you work again?
I have the rest of the week for the Twins, but not tonight because it's exclusively Tuesdays are on Fox 9.
Wow, Mel loves that.
So it's a Jim Rich production tonight, and then I hop back on tomorrow for the rest of the week. So,
Have you spent time
thanks.
with Mr. Shelton yet?
Yeah, sure. Shelty.
Yeah. Do you see
our
him
guy.
all the time? Does he ever ask about meat sauce?
Yes, he does. And just wants to know when you're coming around and how you been. And
I've been great.
okay, I'll let him know.
Yeah.
I'll
So
let him know.
you are working tonight, you said?
Not tonight.
Oh, not tonight. Do you know who's going to be at the game tonight?
Byron Buxton?
No.
He's not?
No.
Even
Sauce?
No. No. Bigger name.
Ooh,
Please
bigger
say
than Sauce?
Yes. Name wise.
Not head-wise.
Rosie?
Bigger than that.
Oh,
Think like Saturday Night Live big.
Tina Fey.
Tracy Morgan is going to
Tracy
be
Morgan
at
is
the
gonna be
Twins
at the
game
Twins. Yeah,
tonight.
Tracy
Watch.
Morgan.
I'm going to be there. I'll be hanging out in the parking lot, making pornos.
Oh, Tracy.
That's crazy. What's happening? You sexy.
Tracy.
Sexy.
Tracy, Marney, Tracy.
I like her. I want to choke her. That's how you show somebody you love them.
Yeah, we all do.
Tracy Morgan, certifiably insane. I started a show with a musician buddy of mine, Chris Kale I introduced you to Chris from Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh, yeah. Good dude, man.
We have a show now called Beardo and Weirdo. We've already got over 15 million views on our Instagram reels alone. And we had Horatio Sands and Chris Kattan in a couple days ago. And we were sharing SNL stories, and very specifically, I wanted to ask them what their experience was, because every time Tracy Morgan was around any social situation with comedians in New York, there would always be one comedian who would look at you and go, you ever try to talk to that guy? Because he was such an odd dude. He just would always talk in euphemisms. And there's actually a urban legend that when Tina Fey pitched him the idea for 30 Rock, she said, hey, I have this idea for this comedian that I think you'd be perfect for this sitcom that I'm writing about a job at 30 Rock, where he's a comedian who the country loves this comedian. They love him. Everybody loves this guy. But what the country doesn't know is that he's crazy. He's certifiably like insane. Do you think you could play that? And the urban legend goes, Tracy said, yeah, I could do that. I'm a Jedi. I used to live on Dagobah. I'm personal friends with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, what does that mean? Like, that's him all the time. First time I met Tracy Morgan, I used to write for Weekend Update at SNL, and I saw him in the hallways, and I said, Tracy, hey, man, I just want to say hi. My name's Craig. I'm a comedian. I write for Colin down the hall, and I just want to say I think you're the funniest guy on the show. And he said, yeah, that's crazy. And I go, yeah. And he goes, what you doing next Friday? And I go, what? And he goes, next Friday. What you doing next Friday? And I go, I don't know. What am I doing? He said, you're going to open up for me at the New York Comedy Club. And I was like, whoa, really? I would love to do that. Back then, I had no gigs, and I was telling everybody, I'm opening for Tracy Morgan. Get to the show. I do my set. Crowd, thank God, was into it. I get off stage. Tracy Morgan's sitting over by the bar, and he goes, Craig, what you drinking? And I go, can I have a Corona? And he goes, yeah, you could have a Corona. So how you like this? And I said, how do I like this club? And he said, no, how you like stand-up comedy? And I was like, oh, I've I'm head over heels in love with stand-up comedy. And he said, you got to be like Bruce Lee in the 6-foot kick. And I go, the what? He goes, you don't know about Bruce Lee in the 6-foot kick? They say when Bruce Lee kick you, you go back 6 feet. That's why when people are like, Tracy, how you living? I'm like, I'm 6 foot kicking it. You got to 6 foot kick your way through life. That's the way you got to approach it. And I was like, what are we talking? I have no idea what we're talking about. Have you guys ever had him in studio?
No, we've never had him. I love him. I'm a huge fan, but I'm afraid of him. It would be incredible.
I'm scared to death. I mean, he's just such an unusual guy. He's just such a quirky guy. But I love hearing Tracy Morgan stories. So yeah, those guys, Catan and Horatio had great stories about him, and about hosts and about how weird Christopher Walken is and all. It's just I'm an SNL fan, so it was neat to have them on.
Well, there is no bigger SNL fan than the one beside you there, Marnie Gellner.
Marnie wanted to be on SNL. That was your dream.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't take it very far.
Well, did you do characters or impressions?
No. I had a notebook. My senior year in high school, I jotted down a couple of ideas, and then I lost the notebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, wherever that notebook is.
So the dream died.
Yep.
Craig, do you know Molly Shannon? Like personally. Obviously, you know who she is. Do you know her personally?
I don't know her personally, but I've always really wanted to. I've met her like a couple of times at SNL parties, but never really like sat down and had a conversation with her.
She's my all-time favorite.
Yeah, all-time favorite. We tried to like go through our entire list of contacts. What was that, about 9 years ago?
Yeah. Well, it's been that long?
For my 50th birthday.
For 50th.
9 years ago.
So 10 years ago.
And we were trying to surprise Marnie, and we tapped on every famous person we knew, and nobody had a direct path to Molly Shannon.
And she had a book that had just come out. It was like people were saying you avoid them. Like they were telling her not to talk to us.
We reached out to her like PR staff, and we're like, hey, we got a gal. She's a huge fan. She's turning 50. We'd love to have Molly on. And probably some 18-year-old intern's like, we're going to pass. It's like, you didn't even ask her.
Yeah. That is the worst, man. If you ask somebody face to face and pitch them an interesting idea, you can get what you want, but it's the people in between that will screw the whole thing.
Isn't that the truth, man? Ain't no doubt about it. Ain't that the truth? Hey,
someday.
Speaking of Molly Shannon, by the way, I want to mention this because I'm glad you guys brought this up. So I only watched like the first 20 minutes of it last night. There's a new show on, I think, Prime with Mark Wahlberg, a movie. It's got a bunch of stars in it. And it's called Balls Up, and it's about a condom that goes over your nuts and your shaft. Yeah. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what it is. It's about it's an entire show, and it has Mark Wahlberg, all these huge stars in it, including the guy who played the Atlantic bomber, the Atlanta
Paul
bomber.
Walter Hauser.
It's got these giant stars in it, and Molly Shannon is their boss. The first 15 minutes, she made me laugh out loud twice by cussing really, really hard.
Really?
So I haven't seen it. I can't give you thumbs up or thumbs down except for the first 15 minutes, and I laughed out loud twice because
Good to know.
So,
Good to know.
Can I try to help Marnie get on SNL right now?
Go on.
Yes.
All right, Marnie, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you the easiest impression in the world. I do voices. I've always had a knack for doing voices because I grew up in a deaf family, and I know I said this before, when I opened for Metallica, as Lars Ulrich described it, very insensitively, because apparently he only heard half my story. He introduced me to his band by saying, hey, man, this is Craig. This is the guy who does all the voices. And check it out. His whole family is retarded. I go, not retarded.
What?
Yeah. Lars Ulrich wildly misunderstood my story. But I can teach you how to do a Mark Wahlberg impression. It's really easy. All right. It's two parts. The first part is you just have to do heavy breathing. It's because for some reason he's always out of breath. It's just that is half of a perfect Mark Wahlberg impression.
Okay.
The other half is you have to say a few words at a time. And the words have to be distressful because, again, he's always stressed out about something. So it's just, guys, are you serious? Try that. There you go, Marty. This is it. Lauren Michaels, if you're listening and watching right now, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
God. Are you serious?
Where does he have a list?
That was Cartman. That was
Cartman.
Guys. Are you serious? Oh my God.
That's a really good Cartman.
Lauren,
Marnie, why did you give Wahlberg a list?
I don't know.
That was an interesting choice.
It was like
it was
we just
channeling him.
I do that
channeled
with
right through me.
I do that unintentionally with Paul Stanley when I do my Paul Stanley impression. It's like, a lot of people are envious of Kiss. I'm even envious of Kiss. I don't know why I can't do it without. Even when I do there's also on stage Paul Stanley, where I've heard him say this on stage in Las Vegas. He said, "All right, people, now listen. I know this town, Las Vegas, Nevada, is known for its buffets. And I can tell you right now after this show, I see a lot of people in the front row that I really want to eat." And then he starts fixing his hair. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I saw the same show like 3 months later in New York, and I brought a bunch of comedians backstage to go to the show. Jeff Ross, Jim Norton, and Steve Byrne. And anyone that works for Kiss that's walking by, I go, "Hey, did you hear Paul Stanley on stage in Vegas saying he was going to eat the front row?" And 3 different employees said, "Did you hear what he said in Omaha?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Ask about what happened in Omaha." And apparently in Omaha, Paul Stanley gave a stage rap where he said, "All right, people, now listen. I know this town, Omaha, Nebraska, is known for its Angus beef. Oh, no. And I can tell you right now after this show, I'm going to want to sink my teeth into some meat." And the whole arena went, "What?" And then there's a long pause, and he went, "Now, wait a minute. Hold on. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a thigh or a rump roast." And the arena went, "What?" And apparently the guitar techs behind the stage were going, "What the hell's he doing? What's going on?" But yeah, I sometimes will add a lisp to an impression, so I won't judge
Mark
you.
Wahlberg.
No, but for some reason,
general rule.
For some reason, I don't do it to Mark Wahlberg. But people have pointed out that I do a lisp with other people. I'm trying to think. I think Mike Tracy has a lisp sometimes.
Your Walken doesn't.
No, Walken doesn't. Oh, it's because Walken sounds like a deaf guy.
It's so good. It's so good.
Because his voice has no tone. It's got no tone, like a deaf guy. Pacino, I can't, because Pacino is too low to have a lisp. He's just a guy that can look right through you. Oh, yeah. Hooah.
What about your Gene Simmons?
Gene Simmons from Kiss. If you missed any part of this interview, go to kissonline.com. I'm trying to think. I started doing Shaquille O'Neal's podcast, and I do a bunch of voices on his podcast. And the first one I did was I didn't even want to do the impression. I walked in the studio and said, "Man, I'm so happy to be here. I feel like we're going to be friends." And crazy story, dude. Last night before you flew me to Atlanta, I was at a comedy club, and Adam Sandler walked in. And he did a joke about you when he was on stage. And I was like, "Oh, man, I'm hanging out with that guy." And Shaq said, "What was the joke?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't think I should tell you that." And he said, "What was the joke?" And I go, well, according to Adam, he said he gave you a role in Grown Ups 2. Is that true? And he said, "Mm-hmm." And I go, "Okay." And apparently during the filming, there was a break where you, Shaquille O'Neal, announced to everyone on the set, "I'm going to go take a shower." And Adam Sandler said, that's when I knew that this is it. This is my chance to see Shaquille O'Neal's penis. And it's not gay. It's not gay. I want to be able to tell my kids, "Hey, your dad saw something amazing once." So anyway, the way the story goes is that Adam Sandler sneaks into the shower, and all of a sudden Shaquille O'Neal's bodyguard pops up. Boom! And Shaquille O'Neal's bodyguard is even bigger than Shaquille O'Neal. This big black dude, bald head. And Adam goes, "Oh man!" He goes back out to the set, and he's feeling bad because he knows he has to explain to Shaquille O'Neal why he was even in the shower. And Shaq comes back out and he goes, "Hey, buddy, I know that you heard that I was trying to sneak into the shower. Your bodyguard probably told you. I was just trying to look." And he said, "I don't have a bodyguard." I go, "Yeah, the big black guy." And he goes, "Nope, that was my penis." Adam Sandler jokes at New Hope Cinema Grill this weekend.
That's right. Thursday through Saturday, you said, right?
Cinemagrill.com. What's
Who
that,
are
Marney?
your Family Guy characters?
I do celebrity voices on Family Guy.
Okay.
And they use me as utility guy to do voices. I'll get random voices. They'll say, "Can you match this voice?" It's voice match audition, which I get all the time for Howard Stern, Family Guy, and then I'll work on the voice, and then I'll submit.
How long does that take? Like, if they give you a name today, how long before you know whether or not you can do it?
Well, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but the first thing I always say is like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." I always lie and go. I just remember them sending me like Owen Wilson, and they're like, "Hey, can you do Owen Wilson?" I go, "Oh, that's like one of my favorite." My buddy Hockey and I, whenever we talk to each other, that's our thing. Is we do dueling Owen Wilsons. But let me ask you a question: when do you need the Owen Wilson audio by? And they'd be like, "Oh, by next Friday." I'd be like, "Oh, no problem." And then I'll just watch.
You have a
Owen
week
Wilson.
to figure it out.
Yeah, and I'll try to figure out. And the way I'll do an impression,
Nasally, right? Yeah.
Oh, Owen. Yeah, Owen's like, wow, man, I love heroin. Like, yeah, it's that kind of soft kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Dude,
See,
Marney.
she's gonna be on SNL.
Marney should be opening in New Hope this weekend. What's going on? But what I do is, and I feel bad for doing
A lisp again.
I don't hear a lisp in that. That's actually a good impression. Well, now I'm hearing a weird Cartman thing at the end of that. But what I'll do is I'll try to get like a sound, and it's like playing an instrument. You try to figure out your first note, and like with Christopher Walken, I couldn't do anything with Christopher Walken except a little man, and that was it. That's all you need. If I did any other words, it didn't sound like him, but I could keep coming back to a little man, and I just kept doing that sound over and over again, and then you keep going until you're able to fill out other parts of the canvas and make a full picture. You know, same thing with Kinison, Sam Kinison. All I could do was, "Oh, you bastard!" That was all I could do. Was just that giggle and then slowly I started to figure out some other notes, and I finally became the demon. Oh
Man.
And it's like starting out. By the way, you know who did one of the greatest interviews with Sam Kinison was Bob Costas, of all people, when he had his later show.
I loved that show, man.
That was one of the greatest
He
shows.
had Bob Seger on one time. Still one of my favorite interviews I've ever seen. Ever.
Literally 80% or more of the people that Bob Costas interviewed would at some point during the interview go, "How'd you know that?" Like, he did unbelievable research. So when he said, "Tonight I'm going to have Sam Kinison on," I remember thinking, what does Bob Costas know about Sam Kinison? And it blew my mind when the interview started. Bob said, "Sam, I used to watch you back in the early 80s before you were famous. And back then, I used to see you at the Comedy Store, and your entire act was based on that day's obituaries." And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? This guy is funny, but he's too dark and he's never going to make it. And Sam Kinison said, "Man, and he explained the bit. I've never heard this before, but Sam Kinison said, "Yeah, I used to go on stage and I would have today's obituaries with me. And I'd walk on stage and go, 'Hey folks, my name's Sam Kinison. I want to thank you guys for coming out. Thanks for supporting stand-up comedy. I'll tell you a couple people you won't be seeing here tonight." And he would just start reading the names of dead people who just died and go, like Esther Goldberg. No, she didn't catch the bus. She's not. But apparently, if you want to see her work, it's going to be on display on Sunday at Evergreen Mortuary. Like, yeah. I know these guys have heard the story before, but my first episode of Family Guy, I genuinely creeped out Seth MacFarlane because I was so excited to meet him that I just overdid it. I went in for a recording session. We met up at the studio, and the whole recording session lasted like 5 minutes. It's like Seth MacFarlane kept doing one line as Peter Griffin, where he kept saying, "This is crazier than when Al Pacino was a slumlord laundromat tenant." And then they cut to me as Al Pacino, surrounded by a bunch of broken down washers and dryers, going, "You're out of order. And you're out of order. And you're all out of order." And we did that for like 3 lines, 3 or 4 takes. And then Seth goes, "All right, man, I think we're good." But I was so nervous because I genuinely thought in my mind that we were going to be friends now because we're working together. I actually have the same insecurity with Chris. I'll text Chris during the year and be like, "Hey man, good luck to your Vikings," and then nothing. Like, but I go, man, we do this recording session, and I stood up and I was like, "So, you want to hang out?" And he goes, and Seth MacFarlane said, "What do you mean hang out?" And I go, "You want to grab a coffee or something?" And he goes, "I got to work." And I said, "All right, you want me to leave?" And he goes, "Yeah, get the hell out of here." I was like, "Oh my God." I grabbed my papers and I walked out and I was like, and then I remember they didn't call me again for like 6 months. And then Linda, the casting director, started calling me and saying, "Hey, Craig, can you do this voice or this voice?" And every time she'd call, I'd say, I can do any voice that you want. I can do any voice that you need. And every time I go back in, Seth MacFarlane is never around. It's always this guy, Mike Henry, who's the voice of Cleveland and the creepy old guy. And every time I see Mike, I go, "Hey, Mike, is Seth around?" And every time I see him, he goes, "Don't worry about Seth. We'll get you out of here."
Cinemagrill.com, by the way. I want to make sure we say that again. Cinemagrill.com for tickets. I want to ask you a real question before the show ends, though. Because obviously you've been involved in the Howard Stern show for a very long time. And there is a lawsuit. I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but a lawsuit from somebody who used to work for him saying it's a hostile workplace. Obviously, radio. It's entertainment. A lot of it's hostile. But what are your thoughts on that? And have you read about that? And do you think there's legs to stand on here?
Yeah, there were people that sent me links to it, but it struck me as very odd because I don't relate to anything that's being and plus this woman that made the accusation, she was not an employee of the show. She's an employee of Howard and Beth at their home.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay, got it.
Yeah, I had no idea who the girl was. Although I do have to say, I worked with Howard in I started in the mid 90s, and then I started sitting next to him in 2001. And then they wanted me to audition to be Howard's sidekick. They auditioned me and Norm Macdonald, Doug Stanhope, Chappelle came in, Jeff Ross came in. They finally narrowed it down to me and Artie. They gave Artie the job, and then I just kind of stopped. I went on to King of Queens. I did Sex and the City and started doing Family Guy after that. And 20 years later, Howard reached out to start working on the show, and there was a whole bunch of people I'd never met before, and it was a much bigger production. So there were a lot of people I needed to acquaint myself with that I'd never known before. But this woman is part of their personal life, so I don't know anything about that story. But that is a weird thing where I always remember there's things that I've said on the air before with Howard that Gary goes, "Hey, you can't say that on our show," and I'll go, "Dude, I was on this show in Minnesota last week and I said the exact same story. It was fine." And he goes, "Yeah, but the problem is that when they hear it on the Howard Stern show, then people will decide, you know what, I think I'm offended now and I want to send a lawyer, and because they read $20 million a year and,
so they're going for the settlement.
They're going for a settlement. Yeah. And he said, so we have to be a little more particular. We have to be a little more careful. So the learning curve is different trying to be funny in that. I mean, there's all these rules about doing prank phone calls and getting people's permission and stuff like that. But yeah.
All right. There you go. Yeah.
But
dude, you're the best.
Yeah,
man.
and you're going to get Marney on Saturday Night Live, which we're all thankful for.
Make it happen.
It's a big deal. And
you said Thursday, Friday, Saturday, though, right?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week.
Grill.
New Hope Cinema Grill in New Hope. If you're a fan of any of the shows I've been on, King of Queens, Sex and the City, Family Guy, you will love the show. I'm usually funny, and I love my mom. I don't know. Sorry.
What a great combo.
Yeah.
And Craig, you have a website as well?
Mm-hmm. With two S's.
Getgas.com. Getgas with two S's.com. And check out the new episode of Beardo and Weirdo, where we talk to James from Love on the Spectrum. I love that kid from Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, nice.
This week. And then a really interesting conversation with Steve-O last week from Jackass, who I've gotten in a lot of trouble with together when he got thrown out of the roast of Gene Simmons and you can see the picture on my Instagram, he relieved himself.
Sure.
On Danny Bonaducci. It was the coolest. I have the picture. It's on my Instagram. It's at Craig Gass Comedy. At Craig Gass Comedy with two S's. Do we have to dump that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Marney, let's end the show like this. Craig Gass, New Hope Cinema Grill, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. One more time, just briefly, your Mark Wahlberg impression.
Hey.
You forgot.
Guys.
It's the great Marnie Gellman. We'll see you at Grandview on Friday.
And if you missed it, Mark Slaughter actually responded to Hockey's story about what happened when Hockey got to that Slaughter concert years and years ago where that woman emerged with white stuff on her. Mark Slaughter explained what the white stuff was, and you can see that response on my Instagram at Craig Gass Comedy with 2 S's.
What a slow play payoff. Just decades in the making, and it finally
literally
paid
35
off.
years.
That's nuts.
Thanks, dude.
Good to see you, Craig.
Bye-bye.
See you Friday, Marnie.
Bye.
Everybody have a wonderful day.